Women of Reddit, what are some obvious hints that you made to guys you were into that flew right over their heads? Completely undressed in front of him and undid my hair. Then proceeded to tell him I was taking a bath. And I lit candles and shut the lights off. He followed me in, got my hopes up, and then sat fully clothed on the toilet talking to me about serial killers for 30 minutes. I'm the guy. I was making eyes with this girl all night at a party in college. Finally, when I bumped into her at the keg, she turned to me and asked me my name. I was really nervous. I laughed and asked her why she wanted to know my name. She then said, I ought to know your name if we'll be bumping into each other all night. I thought she was telling me to stop bothering her, so I said sorry and left. Like I said, I was nervous. We should go for a drink sometime. Well, I don't really go to bars and you'd have to drive, so you couldn't come to mine for drinks. I could always stay over if you'd like. Maybe, my recliner chair is pretty comfy to sleep in. Eventually I just went for the I've been flirting with you for months now, are you interested or not approach. He was. He just didn't think for a second that it was mutual, so never noticed the hints. My now husband and I were childhood friends and we reconnected when I was in college. A few weeks into dating, we were hanging out alone at his parents' house. Then this happened. Me, I haven't seen your bedroom in a while. Him, it hasn't changed. 8 years later, we still laugh about that one. I was at a party talking to a girl about 2 weeks ago. Everything was going great when sex casually got brought up and she mentioned how I come really fast. It's like what I'm known for. Pretty clear sign, right? Well, obviously not. I said, girl, me too. We stopped talking pretty quick after that. Had a near miss with my ex before we started dating. She messaged me saying she just picked up some drinks and was about to go to a friend's party, but she asked if she could visit me instead. Stupid me was like, oh, but I'm sure you'd have more fun at the party, and this went on for a few minutes. Then she finally had enough and said, I got drinks, I really like you, and I'm horny, so do you still want me to go to the party? Oh. When I was in high school, a girl from my class said I should come over and study in her bedroom with her. I was like, nah, I don't really care if I fail the math test anyways. Whoops, I also did fail the math test. Met a nice, interesting, funny boy at a bar, still living at home, relevant, and we talked for a good hour or two. He walked me to the train station and it turns out I just missed the last train home. I said, gee, too bad you live with your parents, I could totally crash at your place. He said it's fine and we headed back. He made me up the spare bed at the other end of the house and said goodnight. After a while, I tested him, saying I couldn't sleep. Did he want company? So we hung out in his room. He invited me into his bed since I looked uncomfortable sitting next to it. We spent the night together in a single bed without a single thing happening. I'd only ever been with one guy, so I just figured I had no mojo. Turns out he was trying to be respectful since he really liked me. And we ended up dating for 5 years. Chatting with him on Facebook every single day for 3 months, inviting him to things, giving him tickets to sports games. 3 months later, he grabbed my hand to help me off a curb and I didn't let go. Suddenly, he got it. 5 years later, we're still together. I'm less subtle now, I'll just grab his crotch. I'm a guy, but my biggest missed sign has got to be sophomore year of college. I was hanging out with this girl late night on a Friday, one-on-one in a common area, and we're talking about trips we've taken around the globe. She mentions that she got a pair of Pikachu pennies in Japan and asks me if I wanted to see them. I said, nah, that's pretty weird, and then left like 15 minutes later. I still look back on that moment and get flushed with embarrassment. A long time ago, I ran into my then extremely fit, extremely attractive neighbor one night, and we got into a conversation about how crappy our fridges were. After a few minutes, she asked me if I wanted to come in and check out her fridge. I was like, dang, this lady really wants to talk about her fridge. I guess I'll be a good neighbor and listen for a while. I know. So I went inside and she proceeded to show me her fridge while standing really close to me. I remember thinking, dang, this lady has no concept of personal space. I honestly thought she just wanted to talk about her fridge. For some reason, it never dawned on me that no sane woman would ever invite a virtual stranger back to their apartment if they weren't interested in doing something fun and dirty. Or murder, but she wasn't the type. Needless to say, I left about 5 minutes after entering. The day my husband, then friend, went to tell me he was into me and wanted to officially start dating. He was super nervous. Since he prompted the date and discussion, I was going to let him start it off and then I'd just be like, yes, me too. Well, he was unable to communicate for about 10 minutes and was skirting it due to being super nervous. I flat out told him, you're not going to be rejected, just say it. I must have said it at least 3 times before I gave up and just kissed him. I'm late, but I need to share my story anyway. This is kind of a switcheroo, but I'm the girl who misses obvious signals. I was a freshman in college hanging out with this pretty hot dude whose band was on Wikipedia, so I was kind of sweeting him. On the way to his place, he mentions how he always puts on When Harry Met Sally to impress girls he likes, and asks me if I've seen it. Nah dog, I ain't really into rom-coms, I reply, and he's all, wait, you gotta see it, and gives me like a persuasive 5-paragraph essay about it. It was an A essay, so I obliged. We're alone at his place now and he shows me all his music gear, which is dope and I covet it. Shows me his favorite chord. I too am an aficionado of fat chords, so it seems like a productive meeting. Eventually we're on his couch and he puts on When Harry Met Sally. I'm still thinking about his persuasive argument and I'm ready to see if it lives up to the hype. Not even remotely considering the fact that he explicitly just told me he puts it on to romance the ladies. He makes fun of me for sitting at the other end of the couch, by the way. For some reason, I had a mondo crush on this guy, but didn't think to sit closer. I mean, I could have. He said I smelled really good, but man, that Nora Ephron sure can write a movie, and that 40,000 headman sure can pick up a hint. The rest of the night goes on very chastely, and I'm wondering if maybe somewhere down the line, this nice handsome fella might be interested in some smooches. He drops me off at my place and I think fondly on the thought. The next day, he texted me to say, my pillows still smells like you. I still didn't get the hint. A couple weeks later, he was telling me about this nice girl he started seeing. Had a lot in common with old 40,000. Similar hair, played the same instrument, but way out of my league. The folly of unrequited lust, I thought. How I ever managed to get married is a goddamn miracle. I'm a dude that has missed some obvious hints. The worst one was when I was in college. I was at a house party and a bunch of us were playing some drinking games with cards. If someone drew a certain card, then everyone had to ask the person to their left a question. And that person then had to ask a question to the person on their left. Whomever did not ask a question or answer the question posed to them lost and had to drink. There was this very attractive brunette sitting to my left. When it was my turn to ask her a question, I said, "Nice pants, wanna do it?" Note, this was not an actual attempt to get laid. I was drunk and thought it would be hilarious because most of the questions were pretty innocent. To everyone's surprise, she looked at me and said yes, then took a long drink of her beer. I did not have sex that night. My current boyfriend and I met through Tinder. The conversation had been going pretty well, so we decided to meet up at a bar for some drinks. A drink and some chips later, the bar was closing, so we walked around the car park and into the warehouse. Pretty much the New Zealand version of Walmart. We ended up in the book section reading the steamy parts of romance novels to each other and having a good laugh. He then showed off his car and drove me back to where mine was parked. Despite all of my flirting, he didn't make a single move. I left feeling fairly disheartened. I texted him when I got home saying I got back safe and he replied with, "I feel like I should have kissed you," to which I told him that's what I'd wanted. Fast forward a few days, I drove to his house with pizza, cuddled up with him to watch a movie, and just before I had to leave, I decided that I had to make the move. Been together ever since, but I won't let him live it down. Long story and not a woman. Just adding in a story a bit late because it's a good example of how certain women can do stuff that straight up confuses the hell out of us. It's my sophomore year of college and there's this really cute girl in my history class. She keeps following me around the room whenever I come in, sometimes moving her entire setup to move to where I'm seated. Laptop, notebook, highlighters, etc. This quickly turns into her laying on my shoulder or cuddling with my arm and napping through lectures. So naturally, I figured this girl is into me. I ask her out. So we go out to dinner, have a great time. She keeps flirting with me in the car the entire time, on the way through the rest of the date, holding me, hugging me, kisses on the cheek and nose, etc. She said that she doesn't want her phone to die, so she asks if we could go back to my place so I could charge it for her. We had stopped by before dinner to feed my dog, because she also doesn't want the date to end just yet. So we get to my place and just walking in, she takes off her sweater and her bra and kicks off her shoes. So she's walking around in my apartment in leggings and a kind of crop top wife beater. She says to go ahead and turn on the TV because it's gonna take her phone a while to charge. I do, and she sprawls across my lap and asks if we can cuddle. I just love cuddles, so I'm like, hell yeah, of course. I lay back, she lays back onto me and then slips her freaking leggings off. I'm laying there thinking, damn, alright, should have asked her out a long time ago. So I strip down to my boxers and toss her to the side while I wrap my arms around her. She smiles and backs into it and slowly starts gyrating her buttocks on my crotch, all the while giggling to herself as she feels me getting hard. So I immediately start kissing her neck and sliding my hand up her thighs when she sits up and goes, hey, what the hell? I just start looking at her dumbfounded and go, you were pressing your buttocks against my crotch. I figured you wanted to mess around. And she says back to me without skipping a beat, I just like feeling a hard crotch against my butt sometimes. I don't want to do that with you. Jesus. I'm taken aback, but all I could muster to say was, sorry, I wasn't trying to push it. I thought it's what you were leading to. She went back in for cuddles, but like 10 minutes later asked if I could take her home, and that was our last date. Subscribe for more r/AskReddit content.